Welcome, today is Saturday, March 30th, 2019. Here's what's what. Grizzly bears depend on huckleberries as a critical food source to fatten up before winter hibernation. When berries reach peak ripeness in mid-July, they make up about half the diet for the hundreds of grizzly bears that live in and around Montana's Glacier National Park. Despite the importance of huckleberries to grizzly bears, listed as threatened in the lower 48 states, there is no comprehensive way to know where the shrubs are located across the park's vast terrain. Tracking where huckleberry plants live now would help biologists predict where grizzly bears will be found. The inspiration behind the research was to map huckleberry patches to identify and protect areas of prime grizzly bear habitat. Grizzlies depend on huckleberries as a main source of food in late summer. While this study focused on mapping the distribution of huckleberry shrubs in the national park, the next step is to complete several other studies aiming to understand the huckleberry life cycle and predict the timing of berries. That information will help grizzly bear managers consider where human-bear conflicts might occur and work to minimize them. The one-term president who was elected in 1976, former President Jimmy Carter, made history this week after becoming the longest-living U.S. president in history. Carter turned 94 and 172 days old last Friday, surpassing former President George H.W. Bush, who died in November 2018 at the age of 94 years and 171 days old. Both men were born in 1924. Bush on June 12th, and Jimmy Carter on October 1st. And as a side note, Jimmy Carter was the first U.S. president to have been born in a hospital. The former president and first lady currently live in Plains, Georgia, where they were born and raised. Archeologists believe they have found a rare Viking ship burial site in a region of Norway known for its Viking-era treasures, Norwegian officials said on Monday. Using ground-penetrating radar, GPR, experts found a ship-shaped anomaly near other Viking burial mounds in the Bore Park in Vestfold County, southeast of Oslo. The GPR data clearly show the shape of a ship and weak traces of a circular depression around the vessel. This could point to the existence of a mound that was later removed. There are only 7 ship burials dating from the Viking Age, 800 through 1050, in Europe, including 3 located in Vestfold County. Another Viking ship burial was believed to have been found in Gjellestad in southeastern Norway last year. Turning to birthdays for today, March 30th. Ian Ziering is 55. Ian is an American actor and voice actor, best known for his role as Steve Sanders on the television series Beverly Hills 90210, which he played from 1990 to 2000. He's one of only 4 series regulars to appear on the show for its entire duration. John Astin turns 89. John's an American actor who's appeared in numerous films and television series, as well as a television director and voice artist. He's best known for starring as Gomez Addams in The Addams Family, 1964 through 1966. Some of his notable film projects include West Side Story, Freaky Friday, and National Lampoon's European Vacation. His second wife was actress Patty Duke, and he is the adoptive father of Duke's son, actor Sean Astin. MC Hammer is 57 today. Hammer's an American hip-hop recording artist, dancer, record producer, and entrepreneur. He had his greatest commercial success and popularity from the late 1980s until the early 1990s. Remembered for his rapid rise to fame, Hammer's known for his hit records such as You Can't Touch This and Too Legit to Quit, flashy dance movements, choreography, and eponymous hammer pants. New research says the later in the day you eat, the more weight you're likely to pack on. This from a study involving overweight and obese patients, mostly women. Findings show that participants eating later into the day were associated with a higher body mass index, BMI, and greater body fat. Their food consumption spanned 11 hours a day, with the last nosh typically clocked around 8 p.m. When people eat more of their food calories earlier in the day, they may be more likely used for energy and less likely stored as fat due to different levels of hormones. While eating later in the day, more so at night, seems to be linked to storing more body fat due to hormone differences at this time of the day. The team is already exploring whether eating earlier in the day, when people tend to be more active, might help prevent obesity. Investment in booze has been on an incredible tear, with one example being a bottle of vintage port sold in Hong Kong that has raised the bar on booze prices. The recent Wealth Report 2019 pegged rare whiskey as offering, by far, its best returns over the past year, with the spirit buoyed by reported record-breaking sales at auction. Fine wine also saw a 9% bump in value over the same period, thanks in part to some record-setting auction sales of its own. Last Friday, Sotheby's announced the auction house had seen a new world record bid for a Portuguese port wine. A decanter of Newport in Lalique 1863 port wine sold at Sotheby's auction in Hong Kong for $134,000. The specially designed bottle from crystal giant Lalique is the second of 5 decanters created for this partnership, and it broke the previous record of about $126,000 set in November at the auction of the first decanter. The newly crafted decanter is engraved with a name from one of the 5 Van der Newport generations and is presented in a bespoke Macassar ebony wood cabinet with Lalique grape pattern crystal inlays. The argument could be made that it was the new crystal decanter, not the wonderful port inside, that truly catapulted this auction into record territory. But bids boosted by the bottle are actually quite common. For example, though the Macallan 1926 has been getting all the credit for repeatedly smashing the record for most expensive whiskey ever sold at auction, the artwork on these bottles is part of what has driven up the price. As for the wine inside, the auction house later notes that critics have given this port a perfect score. Japan's public safety authorities issued over 1,000 orders against acts of stalking last year, a record high. The National Police Agency says there were 21,556 consultations and reports of stalking in 2018. That's above the 20,000 mark for the 6th straight year. Over half of the claims involve current or former spouses, girlfriends, and boyfriends. Also, the number of cases of domestic violence in Japan reached a record high of more than 50,000 last year. The National Police Agency says officers issued warnings in 51,172 cases of domestic violence last year. The figure is up about 7,000 from the previous year and is the largest annual total since the prevention law took effect in 2001. Police received a record 77,482 inquiries and reports about domestic violence. And continuing to rise are incidents of abuse of elderly people by family members and others in Japan. This, too, hit a record high of 17,588 cases in the last fiscal year ending March 2018. The survey found 17,078 elderly abuse cases by family members. Physical abuse against elders made up 66%, followed by psychological abuse at 39%. Such abuse was responsible for 28 deaths. Among the reasons given for abuse of elderly people, stress from caregiving was the highest at 24%. Sleeping in a few extra hours on the weekends might not be enough to combat the self-incurred damage from weekday sleep deprivation. According to a study from the University of Colorado at Boulder, sleep restriction for just 5 days dysregulated the internal circadian clock and increased late-night caloric intake, leading to weight gain. A recovery period over the weekend to sleep in was unable to mitigate these symptoms compared to a control group sleep-deprived over the weekend as well. Weekend recovery is therefore insufficient to counter against the metabolic consequences of prolonged sleep deprivation. Sleeping less than 7 hours per night has been linked to a host of poor medical outcomes, both mentally and physically. Psychological symptoms include fatigue and inattention, while physical ones include weight gain and increased diabetes risk. The extra hours gained on Friday and Saturday nights were all but washed out by Sunday night. The ability to sleep in on the weekends, following a work week of restricted sleep hours, doesn't necessarily result in individuals making up the missed sleep on an hourly basis. A restaurant in a high-class Tokyo hotel unveiled Thursday giant Wagyu beef hamburgers with gold-dusted buns costing 100,000 yen, $908, in honor of the upcoming ascension of the new emperor. Available at the Oak Door Steakhouse in the Grand Hyatt Tokyo, located in the capital's posh Roppongi district, the 3-kilogram (6.5 pounds) burgers will celebrate the succession and new imperial era using an array of expensive ingredients, also including foie gras and shaved black truffles. The Golden Giant burgers, approximately 25 centimeters (9.8 inches) wide and 15 centimeters (6 inches) high, recommended for 6 to 8 people and accompanied by a bottle of wine, will be available from April 1st through the end of June. The country's 248th imperial era will start on May 1st, when Crown Prince Naruhito ascends the throne following his father, Emperor Akihito's abdication the previous day.